So the thing about the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, is that they are just a corporation working for another corporation. Okay, the Internal Revenue Service is obviously generating revenue off of the people, off of those living in America, within the United States. And they use deceptive things and ideas, entities really, to convince you that you owe them money. So there's a few reasons you don't. Uh, the one is the basic one of the whole system. It's people versus legal entities. Okay, nobody can order people what to do. Nobody can entrap people into having to pay for stuff that they don't have to pay for. But legal entities have to follow the rules for the legal entities. So if you think you're a legal entity, then you better pay your taxes. Um, the second thing is that there is no law saying people have to pay taxes, and I don't even think there's any law saying persons have to pay taxes. The notion of income tax is purely a business related term. People do not generate income. Businesses, entities generate income. Okay, if you work, you exchange your time for compensation. That's a trade, that's a wage, that's a contract. Okay, and that's all that matters. But if you don't do that, if you just go doing stuff and you sign agreements to do stuff, well, then there really isn't a contract there, and you probably signed that you're a legal entity, and then they can start taxing you. Um, but the way they persecute you, the way they get you, is when you file your taxes. Because when you file your taxes, you sign it under penalty of perjury. The penalty of perjury is basically a sworn statement. It means that they're going to try you for lying if what you put down there isn't true. It's no different than if some state officer had an oath and they swore to do something and they didn't do it, or they said they didn't have to, or something. That's perjury. When you defy an oath, it's lying. So they don't get you for stealing money. They don't get you for stealing taxes. They get you for lying under their trick. So if you want to really stop paying taxes, you got to be upfront and honest with them. There's no trick. There's no little cute little way to file some things, do some paperwork, and then they give you this big golden token saying you do not have to pay taxes anymore. That's not how it works. You have to explain it to them, and you have to show it to them that you're self-governing. Really, that's what it is. You got to tell them. First thing you're going to do is write them a letter and saying, "I'm no longer going to pay you taxes." You say, "If I would have known the truth, I would have never have paid taxes since the first time I received a check." Um, and you are going to write that letter. Some other stuff you can add explaining that you're the living man, or that you're not a corporation, that you're not a business, or more importantly, that you're going to use lawful money instead of fiat money, and you can. It says so in the Federal Reserve Act. All Federal Reserve notes can be redeemed for lawful money. So you just write a letter, and you write it, and then you send it registered mail. And the reason you send this one registered mail, and trust me, I sent a lot of registered mail and wasted a ton of money. The only point for sending registered mail that I see is that you have that registered mail sticker, and that's a number. And so after you write this letter and send it registered mail, and then they say then you don't file your taxes, or you tell them you're not going to file taxes, or you file it showing that you've redeemed everything in lawful money and that they owe you everything back, they're going to respond and say, "Nah, it's a frivolous filing. You can't do that. You've marked up the paperwork," and they're trying to scare you. And they might even say, "Hey, we filed for you," right? Well, as long as there's no contractual obligation to do anything else, there's no evidence on their side to do anything else, they're going to do whatever they want. And so when they say, "Hey, we think you owe us more money because of such and such, because of our rules, because of the tax code, which doesn't apply to you, it applies to them," You can say, I think there's a mistake. I sent you this registered mail number that notified you that I've revoked my signature and I'm not paying taxes anymore. And every time they get a letter you send back, they say, well, give us 60 days to respond, which is ridiculous. And that's how it starts. And you just got to be firm that when they mail you, that you can always respond with the truth. And there's lots of things you can do. There's so many things you can do. You can write across whatever they sent you, return for cause or refused for cause. What's the cause? There's no contractual obligation to pay them. And you got to be able to see that. You got to know what a contract is and what a contract isn't. If there's one signature on it, it's not a contract. If two people agree to something, they both give up a little bit, that's usually a contract. And they both sign it. So the other thing to really to understand too with the IRS and taxes and all this stuff is we do not need to pay any of them. There is no need by the government to get our money because they have all the real money. Okay, and that's where the lawful money part comes in. What the IRS and the Federal Reserve are really doing is that you have to understand that the money we use, your Federal Reserve notes, are all borrowed money. Okay, so as soon as they're created, there's an interest rate. There's a debt being accumulated just by having them in circulation. Okay, I mean, anytime people get money to do stuff, they borrow it. And instead of that money then going back to pay the debt down, it doesn't. It just goes to the Federal Reserve fiat terrorists. Okay, so if they've provided this fiat money to use in circulation and it's on loan, okay, that means that just for it being in use in circulation, the makers of it, the Federal Reserve, is getting a cut. Okay, and to get around the truth, to get it to where it appears that all the people have to pay taxes to and not just the commercial guys, they tax you, they calculate your use of the fiat money with income tax. So basically they trick you into providing all your information and say, oh, you made this much money, well then you've calculated that you need to pay us this much. And it's not because you used the money. It's not because you did work. It's not because of made a profit or anything else. It's how they calculate that use of their money. Okay, so all the money that goes to the IRS is actually the profit to the Federal Reserve for using this fake money. Okay, because they have all the real money up front. They got our gold. They got our lawful money. And as soon as we go and ask for it, they get the real stuff and give us the fake stuff and totally screw with us. So if there's any kind of burden on you that says, you should be paying taxes, like it's the right thing to do, it's not the right thing to do. You're paying taxes purely out of fear, and you're justifying it by saying it's the right thing to do, because it's not. It's slavery, all right? We shouldn't have to give them anything, anybody anything. So to get out of it, A, you got to know the truth. B, you got to communicate with them and be honest and straight up with them. And you say, hey, I'm not paying taxes anymore. I know the truth. Okay? And then they're going to try to come back. It's probably a computer automated thing, so just don't stress it too much. But you're going to get something back saying you can't do that. Well, you got to remind them that you can. And do they have any evidence that you agreed to it or any of this stuff? You make them, you got to play their game. They're going to harass you with paperwork. You just got to harass them back. But the linchpin to all of it, to ensure you never get screwed over by the IRS, okay? You have to talk to them. You got to push back on them. No two ways around it. But they may sue you still. If they're convinced that they can shake you down, they will sue you. And that's all it is. The people they can manipulate are the ones they go after, okay? If you're pushing back on them and you're not paying taxes, they don't go after you just because you're not paying taxes. They go after you because they think they can manipulate you and get you to pay. So, once you send your letter, and you get set up in a private express trust, the only money that trust can have is lawful money. Okay? It's people money. It's not the fiat stuff. So, get a private express trust set up, and when you put money in it, and you deposit every check lawful money on the back, redeemed for lawful money, 12 USC 411. It's even in the Federal Reserve Act. And you note it. You put that down. I've redeemed this for lawful money. And your account is just lawful money, and you can use it like any other money you always have. I got a debit card that I use lawful money when I buy things. No different. Then you've insulated yourself. So now you can tell the IRS to pound sand, and even if they come and try to sue you, they're not going to have jurisdiction. But even if you screw something up and give them jurisdiction, you can protect the money that's in your trust. You can create another trust that's totally private and move money into that. And that way, whatever entity is getting sued won't have any money. You can also do a private security agreement where all the assets of a trust are secured by another trust. And so if the trust does get sued and loses, before it pays anything to anybody, it's going to pay it to the other trust. So even if the IRS sues you and wins, they're not going to take anything from you. Okay, so the IRS, you're going to see all kinds of things out there about how to get around the IRS, step an LLC here and LLC there, and this state, that state. Get a different kind of trust thing going, and it's a pass-through entity, and they can't do it, and stuff like that. All that stuff is playing in their game, okay, and they control and own their game. So that route, there's thousands of them, you're ultimately playing their game, asking them for permission, and someday they might just take it away, and you got to do something else, right? Maybe. But if you tell them, hey, up front, we're not in the same team. I'm not giving you anything of mine unless I absolutely have to. And the only reason I thought I had to is because of lies and tricks up until now. And so now that stops. And they're going to ignore you. They're going to be like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We're going to charge you with a frivolous filing fee. It's your rules. It's not my rules. I didn't agree to any of this. I didn't consent to taxes. I assented. I assented to taxes. I went along because I thought it was the way. I've never liked it. I've never agreed with it. But I need to work. I need to eat. I need to make money. I need to get a job. As soon as I sign up for a job, you trick me into agreeing to paying you money, giving you my money. Okay? So on that note, if you're an employee right now, you can still set up a private express trust and live through it and put all your money into it. However, when you're an employee, you're only going to pay your person. Okay, the legal entities can only pay legal entities. So your corporate company is going to pay your person. All right, and that's what your contract is. But you can change your withholdings to exempt. They might not like it. They might even threaten to fire you. But I tell you what, it's the right thing, and they can't. They can't get involved with your tax situation. So you claiming exempt should not screw up your living sitch. Or your working sitch. But if you're a 1099 employee, not a 1099 employee, if you're on 1099, it's even easier because basically a 1099, you can easily set that up as an LLC. And a private express trust can own that LLC. And so an LLC is a pass-through entity, right? So any money that LLC gets, while it's in that LLC, it's fiat. And the fiat liars can come mess with you and take it. But when you deposit it into the private express trust in lawful money, it's out of their pool. They can't do anything. They can't come after you. And the national debt, that big crazy number that the billionaires at Federal Reserve, they get $3 billion a day just for using this fake money. They get a football franchise every single day just for doing this fiat money trick. Okay. Okay, so you take the debt out of the circulation. Lawful money isn't a debt. It isn't borrowed. It's the same constitutional money. It's the same as gold and silver. You can use that, and so you set up a private express trust as your golden ship to navigate commerce and not get screwed with. So once you tell the IRS no, and then you start operating that way, you're golden. No more taxes. I mean, if you're involved in certain business things that do certain stuff, like if you have an S corp, though, however, if you have an S corp or a C corp, it can be owned by a private express trust, but those entities have to pay taxes. They're not pass-through entities like an LLC. So even if you don't have a corporation, you're not doing anything, you're just living individually, which is like me. I still run things through an LLC in commerce, but that LLC is owned by the private trust. So that's how you get the IRS. Got questions? Come find us on Zooms Tuesdays and Thursdays, or schedule a consultation call. We'll be more than happy to talk you through whatever situation you're going through. Have a great day.